Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel and to our final stop here in the south of Wales. We are super excited to be sharing one of our bucket list pinned places that we've wanted to visit for such a long time, and we finally got the chance to tick it off and explore the incredible CARREG CENNEN Castle. We'd love for you to join us on our journey as we discover what remains upon this limestone craggy hilltop that sits nearly 300 feet above the River Cennen, and see how they tried to prevent attacks during the Wars of the Roses, and watch as we delve down steep stairs that lead to an incredible natural cave. It's apparent why this castle is one of Wales's most romantic and iconic ruins inside the Brecon Beacons. Your journey can start from 2 points when visiting here, and you can enjoy one of 2 circular walks in the area. The short circular route is the one that we're doing today. It consists of a 10 to 15 minute steep ascent on fairly good paths up the craggy hilltop. It can be quite slippy in places, but who doesn't enjoy a good challenge? It's roughly around 1.6 miles, and you'll have to pay an entrance fee, whereas the longer circular route takes you on a more interesting hike with rough tracks, country lanes, and through the woodlands. This route is around 3.7 miles long, and you don't need to pay an entrance fee. But it has to be said, both of these walks provide stunning landscape and views of the castle and the countryside as well. It's certainly a great achievement of climbing to the entrance of this fortress. The story surrounding CARREG is a long, yet an important one, and it heads back to the 13th century. And interestingly, it's been proven with archaeological evidence of the site, with findings of caches of Roman coins and 4 prehistoric skeletons that were unearthed here, that this could mean that the area could have indeed been much, much older. Along your walk, you'll notice rocks and remnants of some of the outer fortifications. These included stables, workshops and lime kilns, which were protected by a small gateway and a stone wall. Interestingly, the enclosure of the castle was designed to trap its intruders and prevent access to the castle's interior. The defences for this castle's gatehouse was quite elaborate, especially for its time. If an attacker managed to get through the outer gatehouse, he had to make at least 2 sharp turns to reach a strongly defended twin-towered gatehouse into the inner ward. The main gatehouse consisted of 2 towers. Their bases were reinforced with spurs that were similar to the towers at Caerphilly Castle, whilst the top was battlements. And the walls were pierced with arrow slits in the form of crosses with a wide field of fire. It had an unusual barbican with very deep pits, and this castle had the interesting concept of a series of bridges across deep pits. This meant that at any point, the bridges overlying the pits could be drawn from their supports, and it would have been very treacherous for unwanted visitors. Additional protection was built within the gate, so it also had the ability to protect from the inside as well. The second portcullis and the second door from the courtyard side served this purpose. The gatehouse was used as living quarters. It contained several basic living elements with fireplaces and latrines. The layout of Cerrig was simple, but it provided all of the amenities any castle dweller really needed. And inside the inner ward, there are original bread ovens in the western corner. This is something so great to see inside of a ruined castle. It's not often that you see it looking pretty much intact, so this is worth looking out for when visiting. As well as the features of 2 limestone tanks for rainwater to gather that flowed down to them from the roofs. This would have provided the castle with short-term drinking water during sieges. The eastern wing had 2 floors with a typical medieval layout of utility and storage rooms on the ground floor, and then the residential rooms on the first floor. The northwest tower guarded the most vulnerable side of the castle, but its round design would have been an advantage to its approaching visitors, along with 3 arrow slits, one of which was altered in the 15th century to accommodate a new and technical advance in weaponry, the musket. It was quite odd that this tower was the only one with the gun port, but it would have had unbelievable power and defences to warn off intruders. Lord Rhys, who was the controller of the area to High Bath, built a more permanent castle here in the late 12th century, though it was taken by Edward I of England in his first Welsh campaign of 1277. Edward barely had time to occupy the castle before it was under Welsh attack, first by Llewellyn and then by Rhys at Meredith. Edward granted Carreg Cennen to John Giffard as a reward for his support in Edward's conflict with Llewellyn. It was Giffard who rebuilt the Welsh fortress in an impressive style. Between 1283 and 1321, Giffard and his son created a complex structure that makes the best possible use of the rocky hill on which the castle stands. The west side and the south side of the hill fall away steeply, providing natural defences. Even after the English took over the castle, it continued to seek conflict. Owain Glyndwr besieged it in 1403, though he didn't actually take it. Then later on, in the Wars of the Roses in 1461, the Lancastrians defended Carreg Cennen against the Yorkists, and it was at that point that the castle was slighted and impossible to defend, leaving the castle very much ruined and as we see today. From the north, on the first floor, there was a kitchen that was accessible through some external stairs, the hall and 2 private chambers. Inside the kitchen itself is a large fireplace on the sides, which stone cupboards were formed into a wall. There was a small room underneath the kitchen, which was perhaps a pantry that would have been accessible from above, through a hatch in the ceiling and through a courtyard door, leading on from the kitchen directly into the hall, which was of course the most important room in the castle. This room would have been intended for feasts, meeting guests and ceremonies, and then up the stairs and beyond the hall is a small tower which projects into the outer ward and held the chapel, a key component of most medieval castles. Even after the English took over the castle, it continued to seek conflict. Owain Glyndwr besieged it in 1403, though he didn't actually take it. Then later on in the Wars of the Roses in 1461, the Lancastrians defended Carreg Cennen against the Yorkists, and it was at that point that the castle was slighted and impossible to defend, leaving the castle very much ruined as we see today. The main private chamber was called the King's Chamber and was on the first floor in the south-east corner of the castle. The only entrance to the chamber was through the passageway in the wall leading directly from the hall. It was a very spacious room, well lit from the courtyard and warmed by a fireplace. Perhaps one of the most iconic parts of visiting here is to visit the interesting elements of the caves. Behind a defensive wall and down some steep, uneven stairs, a long vaulted passageway awaits you, leading from the south gate of the upper castle to the cave that's located down below and underneath the castle. It's really cool to see the passageway that's illuminated only by narrow slit openings and only really helpful if the sun's up. But it's really fascinating and intriguing to step down into the depths of the caves. Holes in the wall have been said to be used as a dovecote. But after you continue down through very narrow and low passages, you can go down more than 46 metres, but at the end of the passageway, a spring flows into a natural basin by the wall. The construction of such a long passage connecting to the caves is quite the mystery. Using it as a source of water and a dovecote doesn't seem to be the only reason for its construction. It's more than likely that it had defensive functions. Nevertheless, it's so cool to be able to say you've explored in and around a cave system inside a castle. It's something we encourage you to experience. But please don't forget a torch. So we really want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone for all of the wonderful support, as well as giving a massive shout out to our newest Patreons, Dave and Kathy Hyde and Vagabond Turtle. Thank you so much for your support. Please be sure to head across to their channels and show some love. Thank you so much for watching, and we really hope you've enjoyed exploring here at CARREG CENNEN. We've wrapped up our explores around the south of Wales for now, but we hope to come back for another visit to more of the wonderful places and hope that you'll join us too. If you've enjoyed watching, please be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Till next time.